Now, every time I question, why do I do this? This particular young man comes to mind. But I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll let him talk to you, and then you'll understand why. With no further ado, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Harold H.B. Gregory Branch III. Man, how y'all doing? Y'all doing? Now, if you've been to Keys Camp, then you know how we get down. How y'all doing out there?
All right.
Y'all doing all right? Did y'all go to Keys? How y'all doing? Y'all doing all right? Over here, we've been to Keys. How y'all doing? Yeah, they're like, I don't know what he wants me to do. Some of you know me, a lot of you don't. I mean, this is amazing. I've never been to a Keys event where the majority of the people I've never seen in my life. And so it's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is HB. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself, where I was previous to going to the camp, where I was after the camp, where I'm at now, what's been going on. You know, watching that slideshow, it was weird, man. Because I remember being in that room, and I remember walking around there mad and angry, and I remember crying when people I just met. I was like, I don't even know you. You know what I mean? You've been to camp, you know what I mean. And I grew up on the west side of Chicago, Illinois. Moved here to Arizona because I was getting in so much trouble. And my grandmother was in a position where if I didn't move, I didn't live. Does that make sense? So my father lived here in Arizona. So I moved with my dad on the west side, Avondale, represent. And and so I'm in Avondale, and I think like anybody, being a young black man from Chicago, moving to Arizona, where the black people at? You know, it was my first question. Felt kind of alone on that one. But I had a whole lot of other issues going on, you know, with that move and meeting a father that I didn't know and living with him. So I had all this drama, all these issues. I'm tough, I'm a hard guy. And my dad introduced me. He was like, you got to meet this guy named Warren. You know, whatever. I'll meet the guy. Who is he? So I met him. And, you know, this big, stocky guy, you know. Hey, man, how's it going? You know, it's great in here. I mean, he's talking fast. I'm like, what's this dude, you know? So I meet him, and he introduces himself, and he said, you got to go to camp. I'm from Chicago. We don't go to camps. I'm sorry. Man, I'm telling you, I used to think the same thing. Kids in there all the time think the same thing. If you go to camp, you're going to cry. First of all, I don't know you. Second of all, I ain't crying for you. I don't cry in front of nobody. I'm tough. How many of you said you don't cry before you went to camp? It kind of got a different perspective after camp. So the first year I didn't go, I was 16. Second year, 17. By then, dropped out of Agua Fria High School, transferred to a program at Australia Mountain Community College. Went there, decided to go to camp. And I cried. I cried a lot. I cried hard. Tina, right, you go over there afterwards. I mean, Tina was at that first camp. We were at the first one, right? Were you at the first one, Tina? Or like a couple later? Couple later. Damn, I'm the oldest one. Okay. At that first camp, it was such a mind-blowing experience. And listen, God. There was a couple things that I noticed at that camp, but it put me in a position where I could actually deal with the issue. Mic check. I feel like I'm in a rap house. Turn my mic up. Turn my mic up. Y'all so silly. But going to that camp put me in a position where I can actually deal with the issues I had. If you've been to that camp, then you know you got issues. If you've been to that camp, you know you got drama. You got all type of things going on, and there's all type of things wrong with you. You know that. If nothing else, that's what we figured out at camp. But the beautiful thing about being at that camp, it convinced me, and it showed me how to deal with the issues I had. Because the way I was dealing with them wasn't quite appropriate. It made me take responsibility for myself. One year at camp, we had a saying called check yourself. Those of you that have been through this camp, you are rare air. I just want you to know where you are. Before I went to the camp, I was definitely on the verge of dying at a very young age. I was definitely on the verge of not caring about myself, let alone anybody else. I had a distorted view of women, of me, of my culture, and other cultures. That's just where I was. But after that camp, and after dealing with people that was willing to tell me the cold, hard truth, and then hug me afterwards, I was put in a position where I could actually deal with what it was that was going on. Some of you know I'm a poet, so I like to share one of my poems that kind of put me in I was able to write this poem because of what I learned at camp. Is that okay? Now, how many of y'all remember Talent Night? Y'all did Talent Night at camp? Did y'all do Talent Night? Yeah. And when people came up to do the talent show, what did you do? In the audience, what did you do when people were sharing their talent? Did you give them love? What type of love did you give? We're going to act like we at camp. Because you know they always look shallow. This poem that I wrote is called I Lost My Father to a Male Ego.
H. You're going to take a break in a second.
Who, them?
Yeah, that. I'm sorry, y'all. You just can't go there like that.
It's good to have a soldier on your team, man.
Y'all see you start twitching? All right, it's all yours.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Thanks. Daddy dearest, provide my ears with words of wisdom like a father should. We gonna focus. We gonna make it. Daddy dearest, provide my ears with words of wisdom like a father should. But I didn't get that for 16 confused years. And when I was with my peers and they talked about their fathers, instead of stories, all I had was tears.